Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the December 13th meeting of the San Dimas Rotary Club. My name is Steve Scott. I am the president of the Rotary Club. I have been a member of the club for about 14 years now. I am also a State Farm agent in the city of San Dimas. Um, we have a small group right now, but let's go ahead and around and have the few people who are here introduce themselves. Raymond, how is everything today, sir?
Raymond Foster, I'm great, Steve. Raymond Foster, immediate past president of the Rotary Club of San Dimas. Everything's looking good, Steve.
Fantastic. Thanks for being here, Raymond. And Margarita, how are you today?
Good. How are you? Uh,
I'm okay.
good. So, Margarita McGee, local estate planning probate attorney here in San Dimas. Been a Rotary member for, I don't even know, maybe 4 or 5 months, 6 months at this point, but very well involved in the community aside Rotary.
Very well involved in the community might be the biggest understatement of the year. If there's something going on, Margarita's there, which is awesome.
Yeah.
If we get, and I do expect some more Rotarians to pop in, we will give them a chance to introduce themselves after our speaker, but I don't want to keep our speaker waiting. Today we have Daniel Bringhurst with us. Daniel attributes his success to not being smart, not being experienced, but being well trained. Being well trained in paradigm changing systems has set Daniel apart. Coming to Cycle of Success Institute is a continuation of that. Cycle of Success Institute has created what all business leaders have been looking for, systemic employee retention. Definitely interested in hearing about that. Being well trained brought rewards to Daniel as an employee, independent contractor, and business owner. Being well trained in Cycle of Success Institute's curriculum has enabled Daniel to bring the reward to others and to the organizations they are nurturing. Daniel, thanks so much for being here, and the floor is yours, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Steve, and thank you all for having me and listening to me. Once again, my name is Daniel Bringhurst. I'm with the Cycle of Success Institute. And if I can jump right into what's happening behind the scenes within Cycle of Success Institute, we took a step back and realized we were asking the wrong questions. For example, we come to an issue and say, is it possible to confront? We realized we should essentially ask, how is it possible? Now, if I can give you an example of that, take this piece of paper, for instance. Let me get it up in the camera here. How is it possible for me to tear a hole in this piece of paper big enough to put my head in? Well, if I start here and put a tear in it. Now I know I can feel you all looking at my head right now, kind of wondering how could they ever put a big enough a hole in a piece of paper to pull this off. But here, bear with me. Bear with me. Now put another tear over here. Let me keep it up in the camera so you know it's not some sleight of hand pulling it out of my shirt sleeve here. So funny story about learning this. When I first showed it to my wife, it was about this point she pretended to start snoring. But as I got to tell her as well, have faith, only believe. We're getting there. We're getting there. You know, this is also, if you ever personally want to learn this, this is a great way to teach children patience. And now here's the tricky part. We got to open it up just a little bit before we do the big reveal. There we go. Put a tear here. And come here, you. Oh, got to keep it up so you can see it. Put a tear here. And one more tear. I know, been holding your breath. Put one more tear. Come here. I got to get it up so you can see. Now, minding the microphone, we have a custom-made, handcrafted wood pulp necklace that I can fit my head through. So that all came from asking, how is it possible? And once again, it's not because I'm smart. It's not because I'm intelligent. It's not because I'm lucky. It's because I was trained to do this. And I'm also trained in the Cycle of Success system. Now, the Cycle of Success Institute system has worked with over 4,000 organizations since 2001. And those organizations in the first 12 months have added on average over $1.2 million to their bottom line, and in the same amount of time added 10% to their top end sales. And that all was done through systematic employee retention. In fact, it's been so impactful that the state of Illinois created Cycle of Success Institute Day, COSI Day, as they call it, the acronym for Cycle of Success Institute. They literally can match the increase in their economy to the impact of the Cycle of Success Institute on their economy. I mean, look it up. It's March 16th. So this is really the point where a lot of people are interested in talking about their specific businesses and moving forward, which I'm going to show you a presentation in a minute. But if you are interested in looking at your individual businesses, I'm going to drop my information in the chat right now. It just went out to you. Now, let's transition to the presentation itself. Let me share my screen. And all right, can I get some feedback? Can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, it looks good.
Great. All right. Once again, Daniel Bringhurst, Cycle of Success Institute, and we're talking today about unlocking your business's full potential. This next slide here, you'll see some of the organizations that have allowed us to mention their names. With everybody we work with, we give them a non-disclosure agreement, but these ones in particular have allowed us to share who they are. One we're especially excited about is, you can see on that second line, third from the left, the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, the 7th district there. Earlier, I mentioned the organizations, the big numbers since 2001. This is a snapshot of the past 100 clients. You can see that, excuse me, you can see that, yes, they've all done over $1 million in the first 12 months to their operating profit. And granted, it's a little behind average. But the one thing that we'll circle back to is, you can see in the second line, second from the left, is that 25 to 45% increase in employee morale. And we're going to show you how that was done right now. So why COSI? Just a few things. One in particular, right in the middle, it quickly brings value with complete ROI in 60 to 90 days for really medium-sized businesses and greater. And I'll talk about that as well, especially in the question and answer time. Here you see the full 12 months. So the way this is set up is, the Cycle of Success Institute begins working with your organization. And after 12 months, training you in how this works, what you're seeing right here, we leave. And at that point, the organization can take it and do this repeatedly year after year and continue to see growth. So the first step is discovering, finding improvements. Now this really happens in one 3-hour meeting. It's the longest meeting that we ever have in the entire year, and it's free. This is what we call a free test drive. And essentially what we do is sit down with you, the owner, and some key employees, and we ask questions, and we give people sticky notes. We give people sticky notes and say, okay, what can be improved in this area? How can this be done better? And we typically come up with over 100 sticky notes, 100 plus improvements. And then we go through your business process mapping, look at your business specifically, and we figure out where the choke points are, get another sticky note for that. Then what do? We have all these sticky notes, over 100 plus sticky notes. We put them into a 7M analysis. And what we usually find is the majority of the sticky notes have to do with 3, maybe 4 issues. And once we determine those 3, 4 issues, we continue breaking it down into what we call the attack list. we take the top 10 according to valuation, the ones that could save the company the most money, the organization the most money, or make the organization the most money. And then we're done. That's the first 3 hours. From there, we take that information and we go into step 2 of implementing. The team's implementing improvements. Now that is done in weekly sessions over 45 minutes. We organize into what's called tiger teams. Now, yes, when I first heard that phrase, I thought it was kind of cute, you know, tiger teams. But NASA is actually the one who came up with that term. So on April 11th, 1970, Apollo 13 took off. They were in space, I believe, a day and a half when they started their actual approach to the moon. And that's the point where Apollo 13 radio backed and coined the famous phrase, Houston, we have a problem. In fact, they had several problems, one of which they're actually having problems with their communication system, even though they did communicate. Something bigger would be that they honestly, they lost their navigational control. So they're lost in space, for effective and greater work. But even more important, they were losing oxygen. So what NASA did, they said, okay, we have a limited amount of time. Not only are these people like they can barely communicate with us to begin with, they're hurtling away from us. Oh, they're out of control, and we can't control them in space, and they're losing oxygen. Big issues. So what they did is they didn't go out and find professionals. They didn't find people experts in that. They took the people in the room and organized them. And they said, okay, you're a tiger team. You're addressing the oxygen. You're a tiger team. You're addressing the a navigational control. You're a tiger team. You're addressing their ability to communicate. And what this picture here is showing is the actual solution to the oxygen issue. That box near the top of the screen is actually the adaptation they created to fit into a cylindrical opening to repair the oxygen link. So they literally made a square peg fit into a round hole. And that was all done through intense, focused effort. And that's why we're calling them tiger teams, to bring intense focus effort, 45 minutes a week, to capitalize on these issues and potential spots of advancement. And as you can see with NASA, great results. They got to orbit the moon, collect data, and return these astronauts safely to the Earth, even though they had these catastrophic issues. And that was all done through tiger teams. From there, we step into aligning. So essentially, everyone working toward the company goals. And this comes from a conglomeration of really well-known things, but one thing in particular. And we can look at it through this example here. What do these two things have in common? A Big Mac and a fighter jet. They're created exactly the same way every time. They have a standard operating procedure. It's a known, this is a known thing within especially good manufacturing practices, but out there in industry in general, standard operating procedures. Focus on those, bring in the 5S manufacturing mentality and spread it out to really any industry. And I can go into that in detail when we actually meet. But we take that and bring that into now a sustaining mode, where we ensure the strong leadership. We have those SOPs, those standard operating procedures in place, bringing in the 5S methodology with capacity and scheduling, bring in the forecasting and budget, and tie it all together to once again tie in the full cycle of success system. And once again, after 12 months, the Cycle of Success Institute, we leave. Because we just spent the past 12 months training your organization to be able to carry this out seamlessly by itself. And honestly, it instills a culture of excitement and advancement that will stay with your organization even long after you decide to sell it. So once again, here's the results for the past 100 clients. And yes, if I can remind you, since 2001, We've worked with over 4,000 organizations, and in the first 12 months, those 12 months that we get to work in person, they have on average increased their bottom line profit by over $1.2 million. And in the same amount of time, those first 12 months, they've increased their top line sales by 10%. But on this slide, once again, if you look at that bottom row, second from the left, you see that 25 to 45% increase in employee morale scores. I mean, when I see 45%, okay, you know, in 12 months, that's appreciable, but what does that really mean? It means that these people on the Tiger teams are being heard. They're bringing their ideas, right? I said in that first 3-hour meeting, the longest meeting we have, it's all done in 3 hours. They're being heard, and they see their ideas categorized and actually valued, and then they get to do them. Every week, 45 minutes, incredibly manageable schedule to now put these ideas into effect. And so these employees, these people are now bought in. So that's why we see that 45% increase in employer morale scores. And, you know, what does that translate to? People staying. I mean, really, people, if somebody's going to stay 10 years, they're staying 15 years. If they're staying 2 years, they're staying 3 years now. It's half the amount of trying to find employees. It's what people really want. They put their hand to work. They've planted a seed and they've nurtured it, and now they can see it grow. And the organization becomes theirs in their mind. Granted, you're still the boss, and whoever you decide to sell to is still the boss. But they're excited about what they do every day now. And that's where we see those increase in morale scores. And honestly, that's why the Cycle of Success Institute's program has been so revolutionary and so impactful. So if we can circle back to that first 3-hour meeting, once again, that's the free part. It's the test drive. You get to see all the ideas up front, and you get to see the amount of money that we're looking to capture specifically in that first 12 months. And then you also have that catalog of ideas to return to after those 12 months. And also, you know how to bring more ideas to the forefront. So thank you very much for listening to me. Please come to me with your questions now. I will stop sharing my screen. Let me get back over here.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much. Very interesting stuff. I'll open it up to questions. I have a couple, but if anybody else wants to jump in. Always takes one hand to go up first before the rest of the hands go up. Okay, I'll start. When talking about, and this was really in months 9 to 12, but I'm wondering how leadership skills and communicating effectively has been impacted by remote working, and have you seen anything change in terms of how you guys have had to approach that part of communication?
It's always better in person. Like, the results are better. However, from a time standpoint, people seem to really enjoy the Zoom calls. So people come in with almost a more eager anticipation with the Zoom calls. Right. So the test drive, that first 3-hour meeting, definitely in person. The results are better. And that's why, honestly, it takes a little bit longer, because, you know, people got to get there. They got to get excited about it first. But then the 45-minute Tiger team calls, it's been more effective to go to Zoom with those. So weekly it's Zoom, but really that first meeting, do it in person.
And that kind of leads to my second question. You brought up Tiger team. Do people have, and I'm not trying to look for any of the secret sauce right now, but people part of those teams, do they feel more empowered when they're put on a team like that with specific goals and specific duties? Is that part of the goal of what we're looking for here?
Absolutely. You nailed it on the head. I appreciate you doing my job.
Okay.
It's some with some organizations it even becomes almost a promotion to become
Right.
part of Tiger teams, because it becomes such an important part of the culture. So yes, it empowers them, and it's really a key part of the excitement that goes around all of it.
That's awesome. Thank you. Any other questions, Raymond? I saw you take your mute off.
Yeah, a couple of questions. Number one is, here, Sylvia is the CEO of the chamber. Most of us are chamber members. A lot of our businesses are small businesses. So when you talk about the test drive, how do you get 100 ideas out of the 3 people that work at the antique store? I mean, is that kind of scaled down in your expectation of what you're going to see, or do you run it the same? How does that work?
I appreciate you jumping into that. It's kind of a 2-tier thing. 9 employees and up, we see those 100+ ideas. Why? Because we can get 5 to 10 people in the room, 5 to 10 people who have been either in the business for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, or people who are in kind of middle level, high level management. With 8 employees or less, we get more like 3, 4 people, maybe 5 in the room. And so, yes, we see a few less ideas, but it's not about the quantity, because we're not going to work on 100+ ideas in a year. We're going to work on 3. Actually, with 8 or less employees, it's 2 to 1 projects at a time, because there's less people to work on projects. So it's really about finding those ideas that have the overlap. You're going to have one person on one side of the room saying the same thing that a person on the other side of the room is saying. You get 20 to 30 of these sticky notes about really 3 or 4 ideas. 20 to 30 each on 3 or 4 ideas. So those are the ones that we can really capitalize on, and generally they have the highest valuation as well. So yeah, we see a little bit of scaling down, but it's really about shock value is the 100+ sticky notes. We're really looking for the overlap on the ideas.
This my next question is, I know we talked about employees. Do you ever do this first part of the process with what I would call stakeholders, people involved or benefit from an organization but don't necessarily work for the organization?
Yes, but it's not the best, because it's the people who do it every day who see the issues. Stakeholders, yes, I mean, they're looking, they can see high level numbers, but it's that guy who has 35 years in the back that can walk up and say, oh yeah, this has been an issue forever. Like, we have to work around it all the time. It's like, oh, duh, let's do that. Sorry, that wasn't very, and that may not come off well on TV, that duh, I apologize. But it's the people who are in it day to day that really are the ones who know where the opportunities are.
I have more questions, but I'll defer to anybody else who wants to ask a question.
I have another one too, but
Go ahead, Steve.
I just had a question. I mean, it's not an old wives' tale because it's relatively new, but you hear things as somebody who now has to consider himself middle-aged, and trying to hire people into his business. You hear stories about retention issues with younger generations. Do you find that whether you're talking about a 24-year-old or a 54-year-old, once they feel some level of ownership in what they're doing, that retention is just easy no matter who it is?
Yes. I would say that the younger people are looking for it even more.
Yeah.
And that's not just because I'm a millennial, one of the oldest millennials, but a millennial. Granted, I've heard that comment. It's the younger people who, especially the ones coming out of college, like all they've done is work on their ideas for the past 4 years.
Right.
So that's what they're really looking for, because they've been conditioned to that. But it has the same effect regardless. Somebody wants to see, if I can take it back to planting a seed, somebody wants to see that seed grow, and they want to say that's mine, and they want to eat the fruit.
Awesome.
So we see the same impact across everybody.
Okay. Raymond?
So Yeah, so I noticed up there in your list, how does this work differently with nonprofit organizations rather than for-profit organizations?
It works the same. Did you see something contrary to that?
No, I wondered how it would there be a different approach for what my I had two thoughts on this for application. We had our district governor come and talk about our district and its decline in membership and overall decline in Rotary. And we're going to have two big events, well, actually three big events coming up next year that the district puts on. And I thought to myself, well, they've tried to do something similar to what you outlined, but they can never pull it off. And I'm wondering if I'm going to send a copy of the video to Soden and let him, our governor, and say, hey, you got to talk to the incoming governor because you guys are trying to reinvent the wheel on reinvigorating Rotary in District 5300. And here are some people that got a wheel that seems like they've been road tested a little bit. So I'm wondering your experience working with nonprofit organizations as opposed to for-profit.
If I can show you the slide again, maybe one-on-one, but in that slide of the people we work with, there's several women's nonprofit groups. I believe they were based out of Chicago as well. If you couldn't tell, that's where we started.
And then walk me through, what's a Tiger team call like? What happens on a Tiger team call?
Well, it's with 3 different Tiger teams is how it was initially set up. So groups of 2 to 3 people, each one has 15 minutes, and they essentially update everybody on what's going on. And then the instructor facilitator says, okay, your next step is, and we say, that's your next step. That's what you're doing in the next week until our next meeting. Okay, next Tiger team. And each group, if there's 3 Tiger teams, each one gets 15 minutes.
So they brief where they are and then talk about their next step, and the other Tiger teams are listening in on this call.
Yep. That's part of the camaraderie, and it helps with people coming well prepared.
Sure, absolutely. That was my question.
Do we have any other questions? Daniel, again, thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. Really enjoyed it. As a small business owner who has struggled, finding employees, maintaining employees, it's an interesting market. So I'm interested to learn more about this. But some of the stuff you talked about really did hit home, and so I selfishly greatly appreciate it. And I think some of the stuff actually applies to things like the Rotary Club and keeping people involved and immersed in what it is that we do. So thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Could I, if we have a minute here, Raymond, could I address the cost, which is usually one of the most common questions?
Well, I think Howard had a question. Did you have Howard have a question, Howard? Because if he did, then we'll do the cost. Sure.
Hi, guys. First of all, I apologize for being late. I didn't have the link. But is there a way to review the presentation that I missed online somewhere?
Yes, it will be archived on YouTube by the end of the day.
Perfect.
So what's the cost? Yeah, give us the big reveal. You're not going to have to,
Yes,
as long as you're not going to cut up another piece of paper for us, I think we're all willing to hear the cost.
Oh, come on. It's 2-tier. With 9 employees and over, it's $5,000 to $10,000, and really that's on my judgment. But with a tuition guarantee, so we guarantee that money, that monthly money, will come back to the company in savings or increased sales within 12 months, or we'll make up the difference. With 8 employees or less, $5,000, but no tuition guarantee. If I can explain that quickly, the reason for that is because there's just less people to work on less projects. So the return on investment, it's still fast, but it's just not as easy to guarantee. If I can throw this in, we've never had to pay a tuition guarantee because it's always paid itself.
And is that $5,000 a month or $5,000 for that year for the project?
$5,000 a month. And if I have another minute, how it works. There's no contract. What the real only paperwork we give, if it's a medium-sized company, we give them the tuition guarantee, but everybody gets a non-disclosure agreement that's saying Cycle of Success Institute will never reveal anything we learn about your company to anybody else, unless you specifically tell us we can't. And but there's no contract for the training and coaching. If you like, send a check in and we'll start. And then if you want to continue, send a check in for the next month.
Okay.
You'd be there.
Thank
All
you
right,
very
very
much for
good.
giving me that extra time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Daniel. Okay. Moving on to the next section of our meeting, Raymond, our fine master, is traveling. If you want to run fines, knock yourself out.
You
If
know, I
not, we
will.
will.
No, I'm going to find the fine master for traveling. That's going to cost him $10 when he gets back for taking a red eye to New York City. So yes, and the way we work it, $10 is a minimum fine, I guess, $5, $10. You know, if you have something you want to talk about that you've done last week, something you want to complain about, let us know and fine yourself. Anybody? Anybody got anything? Oh my.
I'm gonna
Uh,
fine Steve $700 million for Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. Can I defer 699.9 million of that till 10 years from now, like you did?
You may.
All right, perfect. Perfect. Because the way I feel right now, I don't think I'm lasting 10 years, so that'll be all right. Thank you for that. We did have some other people jump in, and I wanted to give people a chance to introduce themselves. Sylvia, how are you today?
Good. How are you all doing?
All right.
Good. So my name is Sylvia. I'm with the San Dimas Chamber of Commerce. I'm the CEO here. Very quickly, just wanted to invite everybody. We have end of the year mixer. It's a multi-chamber mixer at IKEA in Covina. Chamber members are free and non-chamber members are $10. Sorry, my flyer is hiding somewhere. But more information is located at the San Dimas Chamber of Commerce website. Or you could go ahead and call us at 909-592-3818, and we invite everybody to come out. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Diva, how are you? You still traveling or are you back home?
I'm back home. Thank you. Diva Alfaro. I am past president, 5-year Rotarian, I think 5 years. And I am a senior solutions specialist for Deloitte.
Glad you're here, Diva. Thanks for being here. Mike Wallace, how's everything, sir?
Doing well. I'm in the car right now. Sorry it was late. And yeah, I've been a member of the Rotary for, I don't know, 9-ish years. And yeah, happy to be here, everyone.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mike. And Howard, we did not scare you off last week, so welcome back and feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi. Just found out about the Rotary a couple of weeks ago through Raymond and Casey Cox. Thought it was an interesting organization. I liked the mission statement, and I just thought I'd sniff around and see what kind of people were around here.
All right. Well, we're glad to see you back.
Thank you.
I think that's everybody. Did I miss anybody? Nope, I think we're good. Okay, moving on to the Action 360. Raymond, do you want to jump in here or shall I?
Well, you sound like you need some help there, Steve.
I'll tag you in, sir.
We had 3 kids come back from TLC. On January 3rd, we're going to have at least one of them. That's Teen Leadership Camp. We've been doing this for like 30 years. We send middle schoolers up into the mountains for 3 days, and they come back very invigorated on and excited about issues of leadership. And I will tell you, we have a San Dimas high school teacher who went to TLC with us years ago. And so having the leadership skills come back into the community is very cool. But they will come and we'll have pizza with them on January 3rd at Elba, and they'll tell us about their experiences. So at least one will be there, hopefully 2. And so any questions about TLC? Moving on, teacher mini grants. It's out there. They're coming back. I understand, Steve, I've only seen 2. I don't know how many you've got.
Well, I have received the ones you've sent me. plus one via fax. I don't know. I've reached out to all of the schools again. I really don't know. I mean, if we got a little late because spring or Christmas break doesn't start for most of them until middle part of next week. So I'm willing to accept a few if they come in late. But I think last year we were at 16 or 17 at this time, and we're at 3 or 4 right now. So not quite sure what's going on, but all we can do is tell them we got free money, and then it's up to them.
I agree with you, and I think we've done everything we can do. I know that we've reached out to all of them. Let's see what happens. Maybe we have a quick, we get to put our heads together next Monday and look where we are on it. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Next thing coming up is Feeding Heroes on March 9th. We're redoing the flyer for this, and we have our first meeting coming up. So Feeding Heroes will be the food drive to support the Marine Corps families at 29 Palms, and we've included Camp Pendleton now on the flyer. This is one of 3 flyers that we're considering for the final flyer. I think this is a little too busy, but the committee will figure this out next week. That will be on March 9th. We need to raise probably 6 tons of food this time. Our total's 13. Quite frankly, I'd like to see us come out of this with a total of 20 because I like we've raised 20 tons of food or in supplies, but 6 because we'd like to take 1 ton down to Pendleton and 5 over to the Marine Corps base at 29 Palms. So if you have not already volunteered for this committee and you want to serve on this and have a place in it, please let me know. It's pretty exciting stuff. The other thing I want to let you know that is also going on. Can you see that website, the picture of the signing of the Declaration of Independence? Is that up there? Okay,
Yes.
so this is the website for the 2026 committee, which many of us are the members. 2026 is the committee here in San Dimas that is planning the celebration on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And so it's the website is very tight, lots of content on it. You can see the committee itself as it currently stands is from a broad section of community organizations from the city to the school districts to the Women's Club, the Historical Society, and of course Rotary has taken a leadership role on that. And the blog here, we just about every other day or something are having a story come out about the Declaration of Independence as surrounding 2026. And finally, most important thing, we have a shop now and we have these cool logos for polo shirts, and I have ordered myself one of these. I think that looks really good. That's our official logo for San Dimas 1776 to 2026, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So that's what we've got going on right now in Action 360.
Fantastic. Thank you, Raymond. If you wouldn't mind throwing the calendar up there.
Oh, pulling it up now. Give me a moment, Steve.
Yeah, take your time.
Those logos are cool.
Yeah, it looks
It
pretty
looks
good,
really
doesn't it? Yeah, I agree.
Whoever did it did a good job.
That would be Melissa Moon, Brandon Moon's spouse. Brandon is one of our members. They really are. I've already ordered 2. I can't wait for them to come. I think they're going to be very cool. So
Yeah,
is,
I ordered a polo and a zip up hooded sweatshirt also, and there's free shipping if you have it shipped to the chamber.
well, I hadn't even thought of that. Oh, there you go. I had it shipped to my home. I didn't want to put that burden on it. I hadn't thought I should have done that. Yeah, they look really good. And I have to talk to Lance over there. I'm not sure how much we make per item, but the committee makes something per item, and if we could get, everybody in San Dimas to order 1 shirt, we could probably pay for the celebration, quite frankly. So keep promoting the website. Okay, here's the what we've got so far. So our next meetings are in January, and January 3rd, our noon meeting will be with Christina Stover from LPU, but then in the evening, instead of having the satellite club, we will have the TLC students. The 2026 committee will be meeting on the 16th. Steve and I discussed it, but Steve decided, there's no board meeting this month. We'll have one on January 10th. We have an opening for a noon club meeting on the 17th. This is the first time we've had an opening less than 2 weeks or 3 weeks away in 2 years. So somebody will pop up. But really, we have an interesting one on the 17th as Brad Peterson, This is the number 3 guy for CalVet loans in the state of California. If you know anybody who's a real estate agent and wants to have a connection right into CalVet loans, this would be the guy to hear and get his phone number and his email. So that's pretty much the calendar as we have it going into the next year, Steve.
Fantastic. Okay, folks. Well, this is, as Raymond said, our last meeting of 2023. We did a lot this year. Just kind of in retrospect, a lot of changes, a lot of growth, new faces, some things that I think we as a club should be really proud of. I think we heard that last week when Mike Soden was here. And it's always good when the district governor is asking us questions about what we did and how we did it. So we're a really, really strong club. We're in a very good position. We're doing nothing but growing. 2024 is going to be even better, minus the fact that you guys decided to let me be president for another year. So I just want to thank everybody for their involvement, and most importantly, wish everybody a happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Everybody be safe, and we will look forward to seeing you all in 2024. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.